Hello guys, it's me Simo Urahara, and in this video we'll talk about Grimmy, exactly about the flashback that is not found in the manga but rather in the novel Can't Fear Your Own Word. But before we start guys, I must thank all the new members who joined my channel as a memberships. Thank you for your support guys, I appreciate it, and don't forget guys to support this video by pressing the button like and give a comment. So, perhaps everyone will notice that one of the weaknesses of the Quincy's characters is the lack of their background, and some of them seems like they are just flat characters, not like the Arankara, and I mean here the Espada, for example. Almost every Espada we saw an aspect of his personal life. Halibel with her followers, Neil and her relationship with Noitora, the story of Grimmy in his past, and a lot of the things Kubo delved into the holo aspect in general. On the Quincy side, this matter is largely absent. If we're gonna speak about flashbacks when it comes to the Quincy's, then we have only one major flashback, which is Busby's flashback with Hashveld. More than that, we have nothing but 2 pages of Ace Note when he was in the hospital. And before them, we've seen the chapters of the Sternreiter in the castle of the Wanderer, and I really liked those chapters because it showed us what's going on in that castle, how the Sternreiter see the things. We've seen how the majority were against the decision that Urahara chose by nominating Yurio as his successor. However, there are some information about Grimmy that aren't found in the manga, but in some novels, like the novel of The Beginning of Tomorrow, and I have already done a video about it through the fight of Kira vs Shaz. And also there is a short flashback of Grimmy in the novel Can't Fear Your Own Word, and this flashback is the main topic of our video. So, to talk about that flashback, we have to start from the chapters in which Grimmy will appear, exactly in chapter 572. And there is where we know his terrifying power, which is related to imagination. He has the ability to imagine things and make them real, to the extent that he imagined new Sternreiters, who are Gwenel as well as Shaz. He imagined them with their full personality and abilities. Then when he met Zaraki, he introduced himself as Grimmy, and his letter is V, the Visionary. And since he possesses this terrifying ability, some of the Sternreiter saw him as a monster. And in these pages, which I consider among my favorite pages, asking Snaklovar's conversation with Pepe, it has given us at least a look of how the Quincy's see each other. So Askin and Pepe, they said important words. Askin said, "Why did His Majesty let that person out?" Pepe came forward and told him he agreed with him. That monster should have been kept imprisoned. And this indicates that Grimmy was a special case, to the point he was considered a danger even to the Quincy's. And this was shown by some of the words that Grimmy spoke when he was fighting Zaraki. He said no one was able to put a finger on him, simply because everyone was afraid of his ability. But in the novel, we will see a flashback detailing these matters more clearly. So in the period between the first invasion and the second invasion, Urahara removed a strong barrier that surrounded the cage in which Grimmy was imprisoned. Thus, this clarifies the words of Askin and Pepe. So it seems that Grimmy had done something bad that let Urahara himself put him in that prison, to the point that Urahara used a special barrier that no one can use just to seal him. Maybe he had killed some Quincy's due to his egoism, and that's why Urahara had to put him in that cage. However, after the first invasion, Urahara's plan has changed. Urahara needed all his hidden cards in the second invasion, and among these cards were Grimmy, so he removed the barrier and let him out. And from that point, the flashback starts. However, with the return of Grimmy, the terror has come to the castle, especially for the normal soldiers. They didn't even want to approach his vision field, fearing that they may kill them with his imagination. And I really understand this kind of fear, because just imagine with me, it's easy for you to fight someone who can use weapons, whether it is a gun or sword or whatever it is. At least you will know from where the attack would come. However, when you fight someone that uses his imagination as his weapon, then how could you fight him? But despite all of this, there was one person who had the audacity to come to Grimmy and stand before him and talk to him and even use GREMMY'S power for his benefit. And I'm speaking here about Lil Toto. It seems that there was a friendship between GREMMY and Lil Toto. We don't know when or how this friendship was formed, but from the conversation that took place between them, it seems as if GREMMY had kind of friendship towards Lil Toto. Despite Lil Toto's use of impolite words like calling him a monster or scum, GREMMY did not care or show any kind of anger towards her. On the contrary, Lil Toto came to him and asked him to use his imagination to imagine a number of sweets for her to eat. But what caught my attention the most in Lil Toto's conversation with GREMMY was this sentence. Look what she said. When we kill all the Soul Reapers and we're free. Look at we're free. What did she mean by we free? I mean, I understand if she said when you become free, because GREMMY was originally imprisoned, but why did she say we? Did she consider herself a prisoner as well? Are there, for example, Sternrichters who were forced to join the Wanderreich and therefore saw themselves as if they were in a position of conscription? And the condition for getting rid of this thing was to kill all the Soul Reapers. Honestly, I don't know, but Lil Toto asked GREMMY again what he wanted to do after he became free. GREMMY replied with a sentence that it seems like a joke. He says, maybe I'll give up cooking so that I might try things that end in something I couldn't imagine. And actually this is what happened in the battle of Zaraki and GREMMY. We saw how GREMMY was able to imagine the power of Zaraki, but he couldn't imagine the body that could contain that power, and that was the main reason why he was defeated. And Zaraki's battle against GREMMY gave a new concept to him. GREMMY lived his life without anyone being able to challenge him or approach him, while Zaraki was the person who gave him a new incentive, which is that GREMMY wanted for the first time to beat someone, and who is Zaraki. On the other hand, as I mentioned in the novel, we don't know the true form of GREMMY or when he was found. All we know is that his real shape is a brain inside a container. Some talk about GREMMY being the mind of Ryu, but in fact there is no evidence of this matter. And I can add that the defeat of GREMMY was not the end of his path completely, but rather that his story did not end there. After GREMMY was back to his true form, Tokinada had stolen GREMMY's brain and used it to make Hikone. So when Lil Toto fought with Candice in Giselle Hikone, Lil Toto felt GREMMY's power inside Hikone. And when she asked Hikone about GREMMY, Hikone told her that he knows him because Tokinada had told him that he has GREMMY's mind inside him. For all of this, GREMMY as a character is one of the few characters that we have such information about, such as the flashback, which was a conversation between him and Lil Toto, in which we got to know some of GREMMY's character, as well as what happened to him even after the end of the battle with Zaraki. There remains a question about whether we will see this flashback in the anime or not, or can we see additions regarding the background of some of the Sternrichter in general. I'm not talking about the fights, but the flashbacks, because one of the things that I want to see a flashback about asking Naklova. So what about you guys? Tell me about GREMMY, what do you like about him, and what are the flashbacks you want to see in the future? Tell me in the comments and see you guys in my next video.